Councillors, it's 6:05, so we will begin. And before we begin with the agenda, can I just advise of a few housekeeping issues? Just to remind all present that under the Council's remote meeting procedures, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for archive purposes on the Council's website. Can I ask members, except for Cabinet members and group leaders, to ensure your mics and your cameras are switched off until you're invited by me to speak. And for the benefit of all those joining online, can you please limit the use of the chat facility to ensure that all discussions take place in the meeting itself, unless, of course, you have any audio or camera issues, in which case, please bring those to the attention of the Democratic Services Officer as soon as possible, and they'll let me know. And if you wish to speak, can you please use the raise your hand function in the Teams software and wait until invited by me to speak. If for any reason the raise your hand function doesn't work, you can also raise your hand on camera and I will spot you as quickly as I can. With regard to voting on recommendations, if there's no dissent to a recommendation, then I will accept the silence as agreement. And the meeting will be conducted in line with the standards set out in section 19, appendix 2 of the Council's constitution. So I kindly ask that all participants adhere to one speaker at a time. Thank you. So we move to item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies? No, thank you. Item 2, roll call and declarations of interest under the Council's Code of Conduct. Can I invite the Chief Executive to take us through the roll call and any declarations, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Can I start with Councillor Anne Asprey, please?
Presennol a dim byd i'w ddatgan.
Councillor Julie Aviett.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Gareth Ball.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Rhiannon Birch.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Bronwyn Brooks.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Gillian Bruce.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Buckley.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Liz Burnett.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Samantha Campbell.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor George Carroll.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Christine Cave.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Charles Champion.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Janice Charles.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Millie Collins.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Marianne Cowp.
Present, no declarations of interest.
Councillor Pamela Drake.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Vince Driscoll.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Anthony Ernest.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Robert Fisher.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Chris Franks.
Good evening. Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Wendy Gilligan.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Russell Godfrey.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Emma Goodjohn.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Ewan Goodjohn.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Stephen Haynes.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Howard Hamilton.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Sally Hanks.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor William Hennessy.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Nick Hodges.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Mark Hooper.
Presennol a dim byd i'w ddatgan.
Councillor Catherine Iannucci.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Gwyn John.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Johnson.
Presennol a dim byd i'w ddatgan.
Councillor Susan Lloyd Selby.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Belinda Lovelock-Edwards.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Julie Lynch-Wilson.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Kevin Marnie.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Naomi Marshalsea.
Yn bresennol a ddim byd ddatgan.
Councillor Michael Morgan.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Jane Norman.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Helen Payne. Councillor Payne.
Bresennol, present and nothing to declare.
Thank you. Councillor Elliot Penn.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Sandra Perks.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Ian Perry.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Joanna Prythrow.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Ruba Sivanianam.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Caris Stallard.
Yn bresennol a dim byd i ddatgan.
Councillor Neil Thomas.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Rhys Thomas.
Present, nothing to declare.
Councillor Steffan William.
Bresennol a dim byd i ddatgan.
Councillor Margaret Wilkinson.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Eddie Williams.
Present and nothing to declare.
Councillor Mark Wilson.
Present and nothing to declare.
And Councillor Nicholas Wood.
Present and nothing to declare.
Thank you, Mayor. That concludes the roll call.
Thank you. So we move on to agenda item 3 to approve the minutes. There are 2 sets of minutes to approve, and I'll take these one by one. So the first set of minutes is the 26th of September 2022.
I'd like to move them as a true record, Mayor.
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Was that a hand?
Yes, it was, yeah. Just to say I'm happy with that.
Right, you got to go off.
Thank you. So I see no dissent. Councillor Russell, Councillor Godfrey, just to remind you that there's no need for you to keep your camera on. If you'd like to switch that off, that would be really helpful. Thank you. So the minutes of the 26th of September are approved, and we move on to the special meeting of the 9th of November.
If I could move those as a true record, Mayor.
And I'll second those, Mayor.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. And now we move on to announcements. I'll start with a brief report, if I may. So since I last reported to Council in September, I've attended another 15 events, details of which can be found in the regular mayoral update, which is available on the Council's website. I'd just like to highlight what a pleasure it was to attend the staff awards and hear about the work being done by individuals and departments throughout the Council to support communities across the Vale. My congratulations again to all those who are nominated and to the very worthy winners for the great work that they're doing. It was a privilege to mark Armistice Day when we remembered those who've given their lives in service to the country, and also to attend the Royal Gun Salute, where the Council reaffirmed its commitment to the armed forces by re-signing the Armed Forces Covenant. I was also delighted to attend the anniversary of Barry Roundtable's Santa Sleigh, 50 years of bringing the joy and excitement of Christmas to children in the town, as well as raising much needed money for hundreds of local charities, groups, sports clubs, and much more. The dates for the routes have now been published. In fact, I think they started some of them this week. So I hope that all those who are able will continue to support them generously, as well as charities and community groups that are appealing for support in the run-up to Christmas. And finally, just to let you know that this year the Mayor's Foundation has so far supported 21 charities and community groups. Local organisations are encouraged to apply and details of the application process can be found on the Council's website. Thank you. So moving on, Leader, do you have any announcements, please?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I don't.
Thank you. And Chief Executive, are there any announcements from you?
No, nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you. So we move on then to item 5 on the agenda, report of the Chief Executive, use of the Chief Executive's emergency powers. This item is just for noting. Councillor Burnett, are you going to take us through this, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I will. As you've just said, this report is just for noting. In effect, it's a housekeeping report. It's to advise Council of the use of the Chief Executive's emergency powers since the last resort on the 26th of September. The 2 occasions when they've been used are outlined in paragraph 2, and that's the appointment of the Senior Information Risk Officer and Deputy Senior Information Risk Officer, and a change in the Labour Group membership at the Senior Management Appointment Committee. So on that basis, I would move we note.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. I see no questions or comments, so we resolve that the report be duly noted. And move on to item 6 on the agenda, to consider proposals from the Executive in relation to the Council's policy framework and budget. And I'm going to take these one by one, starting with agenda item 6A, the Cardiff and Vale Market Stability Report. And Councillor Williams, can I invite you to take us through this, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this report is, as you say, is a reference to Cabinet, but it is a council decision, and the purpose of the report was to approve the Cardiff and Vale Glamorgan Market Stability Report 2022. Section 144B of the Social Services and Wellbeing Wales Act 2014, we'll describe it as the 2014 Act for this, required local authorities to prepare and publish market stability reports every 5 years. And this was the first market stability report for Cardiff and Vale of Glamorgan. The market stability report should be read alongside the Cardiff and Vale of Glamorgan population needs assessment and the Vale Glamorgan wellbeing assessment to gain a comprehensive understanding of the population care and support needs and the ability of the market to meet those needs. The market stability report was undertaken between October 2021 and July 2022. Dedicated engagement undertaken during development of the population needs assessment, as well as existing data and reports, were used to inform the AMSR market stability report, alongside dedicated engagement work in the form of focus groups with professionals and providers. Improvements in care and support services have been made across all population groups since the 2017 population needs assessment, despite the challenges of COVID-19. COVID-19 has had a number of impacts, including decreasing demand for services, especially mental health, and changing models of delivery for many services. However, when it was the most appropriate approach, services were returning to their pre-COVID-19 delivery models. The longer-term impact on care and support needs of the Vale Glamorgan's population and the market stability would require continued monitoring to ensure market sufficiency. Healthy Living and Social Care Scrutiny Committee considered the market stability report on 6th September and requested more details regarding the required mechanism for the annual report. And the Regional Commission Board would need to consider this with partners and any requirements from Welsh Government in due course. I just need to expand on that a little bit at the end, is that, as you're aware, I'm chair of the Regional Partnership Board, and this is a key piece of work that was generated, and certainly our director, Lance Carver, wants to give him some recognition, the amount of work that was going into this, and his team, of course, the amount of work that went into this. The challenges are, the questions by the Scrutiny Committee were valid, in that this is the first report we've had, and there was just some questions on how we go through that. The key point from the report is the recognition of the needs, and certainly it gives a clear indication of the needs within the Vale of Glamorgan, and also within the report it talks about how it's going to deal with those challenges. So I'm hoping that from that, the Cabinet have, if you can see from the reference, Cabinet had considered the reports and all the issues and implications contained therein, and resolved that the contents of the Cardiff and Vale Glamorgan Stability Report be approved, and as it has done here, that the Cardiff and Vale Glamorgan Market Stability Report be referred to full council for approval. And on that basis, I so move, Mayor.
And I'll second, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Williams, for bringing the report here. It is, I think, a very important report that for all of our social services for adults and children and young people, in setting out both the anticipated needs over the coming 5 years and the anticipated challenges of the market sufficiency, so there's enough places in all of the different areas that we have. Obviously, this is a working on the basis of the knowns that we have, but it's some of the figures there, looking back at more recent trends, are also important for how we go forward. So I think, for example, one of the ones that struck me was the 40% increase in children looked after across Cardiff and the Vale, in the past 5 years, and therefore the challenges if that trend continues. Similarly, issues around the changing market, following COVID-19 for adults, social services and social care, and how those are going to be met over the coming years. I thought that section 7 of the Market Stability Report, which sets out some of the aims that we have, also the things that we'll be doing to meet those needs, I thought were very useful. Some of you here will know that in a previous life I worked in children and young people's mental health services, and one of the issues there was what we call the missing middle, which was the area that was below the required need for statutory services, and that's something that's drawn out, I think, quite strongly in section 7 of this report here. And the challenge there is that by the nature of being below the statutory service needs, there's not necessarily anybody who takes control of that area and who is there to deliver on those services. So this, I think, is a very important report, and I'm sure it'll receive a lot more attention as it works its way through the system. Councillor Williams talked about some of the questions that came out of the Healthy Living and Social Care Scrutiny Committee meeting about how that will happen. I was wondering if, in his position as chair of the Regional Partnership Board, which is a board and a committee which I don't think is well known and well understood outside of its immediate social care and health circumstances, I was wondering from his perspective how he anticipates us dealing with this report being acted upon as part of the Regional Commissioning Board, the area plan, and how that's going to find its way through our systems as a local authority, so that we can scrutinise the actions of the RPB, the RCB, and how that's going to happen. So I'd be grateful if Councillor Williams could just take us through the process as he understands it as chair of the board which is in charge of this. Thank you.
Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor, if I may.
Please do.
Yeah, thank you. As you can gather, you're right to say that when we talk about regional partnership boards and public sector boards, it is a challenging area for any councillor to become familiar with. And I'll be frank, it has been for me, but I can say that now in my position 6 months on, it's much clearer to me. And just for the benefit of those, there's no doubt that it is a strategic document, and it gives quite a level of detail. And you can imagine, as working with partners, not just with the local authorities, but public health, private sector, there's quite a challenge in bringing all those agencies together. And that's certainly been something that has been happening it's been happening prior to this May's election, but it's certainly something which I'm well aware of. And interestingly, when we have the Regional Partnership Board meetings, the agendas are quite tight. But so just having the focus on something like this, which was brought to the Regional Partnership Board some months ago, was to say, right, how are we as partners going to deal with this particular issue? And there's no doubt the context is challenging, but there is a recognition and an agreement from each of the partners that this will come through. Until we get the approval of this report, then we're not really in a position to to say that we were going to commit to it. I'm hoping that council will approve that. As with all these, this is the first market report, so it will take some time for us to work through those. But as you said, the report is quite clear that we've got some targets and aims to go for, and they're listed in there, and those will be our focus. And in fact, the Region Partnership Board is undergoing its own area plan at the moment. Plan and then workshops are taking place, just so how we can articulate and actually work together on these particular aims that we've got, recognising that we demand the recruitment of staff and issues like that is going to be a key element. But also there's linking with the Welsh Government, because they are strategic partners in putting us in a system place where we can actually deal with some of the issues which are outside our own local authorities' control. So it is important that we can't answer all the issues within our own remit, but I can assure you that as a result of this market stability report and people needs assessment, there is some structure to it, and it's good. And I recognise what you were saying about there are individuals that are underneath that criteria, and it's something that's key to me is that a lot of the work we need to do is preventative. And at this time when we're dealing with budgets and everything, it's easy for the preventative elements to be discounted. But I think this report actually gives that flavour of what the demand is. And if we're aware of those that aren't actually meeting this criteria, then there's a lot more to do. So I'm hoping that, there's no hope about it. There is a plan within the RPB to move forward with this in a structured way, because we'll have meetings and we've got the workshops to go forward. And I'm hoping that that's sufficient answer for you, Councillor Johnson. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. There's no indication that any other councillor wants to speak on this matter, so we resolve the recommendations around that report are agreed. And we move on to agenda item 6B, the Treasury Management Midterm Report. This item is for approval, and can I ask the Executive Leader to take us through it, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this report was taken to Cabinet on the 17th of November, and it's coming to Council now for approval. It's the mid-year report that's prepared in compliance with SIPFA's Code of Practice on Treasury Management, and covers a range of topics, such as an economic update as of the 30th of September of this year, a review of the Treasury Management Strategy Statement, an annual investment strategy for 2022-23, a review of the Council's capital expenditure and prudential indicators, a review of the Council's investment portfolio for 2022-23, a review of the Council's borrowing strategy for 2022-23, and debt rescheduling undertaken during 2022-23. Some of the main points that came out of it were the Treasury management indicators that are based on the capital programme approved at Cabinet on the 3rd of November 2022, and that includes a reprofile of the City Deal Scheme, which was approved under emergency powers. The prudential indicators detailed within the report compared the original estimates approved at Council on the 3rd of March 2022 with the revised estimates in 2022-23. And in addition, there is a new Treasury prudential indicator, the liability benchmark, which was required by the December 2021 revised prudential code, which becomes mandatory from 23-24. Under the investment portfolio section of the report, the table shows the movement of the Council's investment portfolio from the 1st of April 2022 to 30th of September 2022, listing the counterparties with whom funds were invested. Investments as of 30th of September this year were 96.345 million, which is up from 96.320 million as of the 1st of April this year. Interest at an average rate of 0.97% and amounting to 0.406 million included accrued interest was received from the 1st of April this year to the 30th of September this year. And in accordance with the code, the council continued to have regard to security and liquidity of its investments before seeking the highest return or yield. I think it's fair to say that debt rescheduling opportunities have been limited under the current economic climate, so no debt rescheduling has therefore been undertaken to date in the current financial year. I haven't missed anything out. There was, I mean, the report has been referred to scrutiny corporate performance and resources. And I think Treasury is one of the more difficult reports that we deal with, which is why every year we have specific training on Treasury management and have advisors to come in to the council and talk to us. But particularly in these difficult times, even though there was a comment in one scrutiny committee that financial management was very difficult. Well, it is very difficult, but it's absolutely essential. So it's good that we take a prudent approach to our Treasury management and make sure that our investments are solid and that our borrowing is at the lowest possible cost, which includes, in fact, loaning money to ourselves. So on that basis, I would move approval of the report. Thank you, Mayor.
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. There's no indication that councillors want to speak on this item, so the recommendations are resolved. And we move on to item 6C, which is the Vale of Glamorgan community review. This item is purely for noting. And can I invite the leader to take us through it, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is very straightforward. This is in effect that we are required to undertake a community review, and back in 2018, Cabinet considered a report relating to the council's duty to conduct such a review, and it was determined to avoid confusion during both the elections in 2021 and 22, that a review would be carried out in 2023. The details are before you, and in the discussion at Cabinet, it was resolved that the process and relevant timescales would be referred to Community Liaison Committee and to all town and community councils in the Vale of Glamorgan for information. I said, and it's brought to council today for noting, so that everyone's aware of the process that we'll be going through. So I'd move we note.
And I'll second that, lead, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly to welcome the community review, which I think was delayed as a result of the Local Government Boundary Commission asking us to hold this back until after the 2021 and 2022 elections. I think that was as it was held back as a part of their capacity to do so. Unfortunately, I think during the discussions around the Vale of Glamorgan boundaries for the 2022 elections, we found that actually this was slightly cart before horse, because when we looked at potential changes that might take place within wider communities within, say, the Barry area, the Penarth area, we were told that those couldn't happen because there hadn't been a community review of those already, and that meant that only certain changes were able to be made, which took place in the Western Vale and in the Central Vale. So as a community review, this is a first opportunity since 2009 to consider whether these communities reflect the boundaries reflect the communities that they are supposed to serve. I'm sure that town and community councils will be highly engaged within this. I'm sure political parties will be as well. But I think it's important on all of us to make sure that our electors, our constituents, play a role in this consultation as well, to make sure that the community boundaries that we end up with are, and the size of the town and community councils that we have, are reflective of those, what people actually want, and the democracy that we hope to see in the Vale. So I look forward to participating within this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I see nobody else wants to speak on this matter, so the recommendations in that report are approved, and we move on to agenda item 60, Council Tax Reduction Scheme. This item is for approval, and can I invite the leader to take us through it, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is very much housekeeping actually, and it is something. Hang on, if I just move that so I can make sure that I see. We have until 31st of January every year to take a decision on the council tax reduction scheme, and there's actually been a national reduction scheme since the 1st of April 2013, which the council has adopted every time since then. The proposal is to retain the national scheme with the 3 existing discretions. One is for the extension of payments up to 4 weeks. So that's to provide some flexibility when people are moving out of the council tax reduction scheme, say they've become employed or something along those lines, to disregard the widow and war disablement pensions in assessing income, and to backdate up to 26 weeks. So we can continue to allow backdated reductions for a period of up to 26 weeks. And I would move the report with those discretions.
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. The recommendations regarding council tax reduction scheme are agreed. So we move on to item 7 on the agenda, which is to inform the council of the use of the urgent decision procedure under Article 1515 of the Constitution. This item is purely for noting, and so I will take the issues as one item. Leader, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. As you indicated, these are purely for noting. It's the use of the urgent decision procedure under Article 1514 of the Constitution. For example, things like we've just seen the council tax reduction scheme, that was 1514 was used in order to bring it to this meeting. So I therefore move we note.
And I'll second those, Mayor.
Thank you. That's approved. We would now normally move on to item 8 on the agenda, which is receiving questions from councillors. But I'm sure all councillors will be aware that we have 46 questions before us this evening. And agenda item 9 is one question that we have from a member of the public. So with your indulgence, councillors, I'm going to propose that we take agenda item 9 at this point, so that the member of the public who's asked the question, if they've joined us online, can receive the answer to their question at this point. Can you indicate if you're not happy with me making that change to the agenda? No. Thank you very much. So, as I say, we've had one question from a member of the public. I'm going to paraphrase the question, but just to reassure Mr. Mack, who's asked the question, that councillors have the full question before them and they'll respond on that basis. So thank you for your question, Mr. Mack. It concerns the reduction of CO2 emissions in relation to school governing bodies. And I'm going to invite the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Sustainable Places to respond. Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Mack, for the question. New schools that are part of the Sustainable Communities for Learning programme are supported by travel plans to promote active travel to school for pupils, parents and staff, including governors. A travel plan promotes other sustainable modes of transport where active travel is not achievable, such as available public transport. And a travel plan also promotes car sharing to reduce the number of private vehicles being used. Existing schools are encouraged to adopt a school travel plan in collaboration with the Council's active travel officer, and the aim of that is to promote active travel in the Vale of Glamorgan and reduce private car usage. All schools in the Vale of Glamorgan have access to IT facilities which can be used to hold governor meetings online. However, it is a matter for individual governing bodies to determine how they wish to conduct their meetings. The Council does, however, promote the use of online meetings where appropriate to reduce the need for private car travel. Given the relevance of your question to the wider climate change agenda, it's also worth referencing the fact that all schools in the Vale of Glamorgan have been provided with bespoke and localised information on how to reduce energy consumption and mechanisms to assist in changing behaviours to improve energy usage in school environments. Furthermore, the school is promoting additional tree planting on school sites, along with producing biodiverse habitat areas through wildlife planting, both of which contribute to creating carbon sink areas within school sites. Schools included within Sustainable Communities for Learning programme are now developed to the net zero carbon in operation standard, and the Council is working towards a whole life net zero carbon model. This includes new planting as part of new school developments, all of which of course contribute to addressing the climate emergency in the Vale of Glamorgan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. So we move back to item 8 on the agenda, which is questions from councillors. As I've already said, there are 46 questions before us tonight. Once councillors, for those councillors who've asked a question, once you've heard the response from the Cabinet member, if you want to ask a supplementary question, can I just point out you don't have to, but if you want to, please indicate in the usual way or I will move on. And can I respectfully remind councillors that one supplementary question is required, not a statement, not a speech, and not multiple questions. So if councillors do start to make lengthy statements, I will stop you and I will ask you to get to your questions. So please bear that in mind once you've heard the answer to your question, and also to remind you that the supplementary question must relate to the original question you've asked or to the answer that you've received from the Cabinet member. So we start with question 1 from Councillor Johnson for the Executive Leader and Cabinet Member for Performance and Resources regarding support for young people. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Johnson. Notwithstanding the significant budgetary challenges that we face, we continue to focus and prioritise this key service so we can support our most vulnerable young people to enter so they're able to enter the job market.
Councillor Johnson, you have a supplementary.
Thank you, Mayor. And the question is relating to the Inspire to Achieve and Inspire to Work programmes. I'm just wondering, we've previously been working closely with Llamau on this project. Is it intended that we'll be continuing this project and working with Llamau in future?
At the moment, the exact parameters aren't available for discussion, but the Youth Service has preempted the loss of the European social funding for the Inspire to Achieve and the Inspire to Work projects by reshaping its targeted service. This has resulted in the closure of the Youth Engagement Programme, which operated daily from YMCA Barry. The programme delivered a one-day provision for students attending Derry Newydd to offer a BTEC level 1 or 2 suite qualification and to deliver the personal, social and health education. There are a range of other initiatives, as you would be aware, that support young people. And I actually, as we were developing the programme for the Shared Prosperity Fund, I actually had a very productive meeting with Llamai, an organisation who are hugely respected, and we work very successfully within the Vale. But at the moment, I have no details on our future proposals for working with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 2 from Councillor Johnson for the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Sustainable Places regarding the redevelopment of St Richard Gwyn Catholic High School in Barry. Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I can assure all members actually that full consideration has been given and continues to be given to the impact of climate change and flooding in relation to the St Richard Gwyn development.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks, for that response. Obviously, you'll be aware of that flooding of the site in at least 2007, 16 and 20, and the proposals are that this will be on the same site. I'm just wondering when you say considerations have been made, what do you mean by that? If the plan is to be on the same site, how does that going to operate? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As part of the initial redevelopment planning for the site, a flood alleviation exercise has been undertaken in consultation with NRW and local suitable drainage approval body known as the SAB Authority. And that the aim of that is to determine what would be achievable for the site to address the on-site flooding issue without detrimentally affecting the surrounding areas. The current proposal includes a number of on-site basins and swales to disperse surface water from both the site as well as part of Argyle Lane through a network that will travel around the edges of the site, as you no doubt aware, not just a school that floods, it's that area surrounding there. To ensure compliance with SAB regulations and to address the on-site generated surface water, the current proposal includes the construction of a green roof. And then this would ensure the majority of surface water generated by rainfall would be dealt with through the footprint of the building, as well as limiting the volume of water which would enter the main system. And then where possible, the external areas would be permeable with features including a 3G pitch, multi-use games area, and potentially the car parking areas, which would further reduce the volume of surface water entering the main system. Obviously at this point the design for the redevelopment of the school site in its very early stages, but the main principle, in addition to providing a sustainable energy efficient building, is to ensure that surface water is dealt with on site, limiting the amount of water entering the local water course, and then the aim of that is to mitigate any additional surface water to the existing water system. But as I emphasise, we're very early planning stages with that, but there is the ongoing work.
Thank you. Next question from Councillor Johnson to the Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services regarding penalty charge notices for traffic offences. Councillor Wilson, please. And Councillor Johnson, do you mind if I ask you to switch your microphone off? Thank you very much. Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your question, Councillor Johnson. In the period from the 1st of January 2022 to the 31st October 2022, 6,087 PCNs have been issued by enforcement officers on foot and 6,347 PCN notices by the camera car. It is difficult to assess the success of the camera car in reducing dangerous parking, but our officers have noted less offences in locations such as schools and pedestrian crossings following periods of enforcement.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you for that response, Councillor Wilson. Can you explain on the basis of the numbers that are provided how you utilise that to develop better understanding of where dangerous parking is taking place.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. It's because we do many investigations, and an example of that is Operation Frozen, which established to establish why such a way too large number of PCNs have been issued at the goods vehicle only loading bay at Windsor Road in Penarth Town Centre. Over the course of 5 days, officers had a high visibility presence at the loading bay, and the camera enforcement vehicle was rerouted to avoid the loading bay. This was followed the phase 1 of the operation, and obviously we'll look at other areas where there is a lot of obviously concerns, and we will do similar enforcement action elsewhere and operations to remind the public of where to park safely and to make sure that they follow the rules. So thank you.
Next question from Councillor Johnson to the Deputy Leader regarding the town centre market in Barry. Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Johnson. As Councillor Dr. Johnson will be aware from his contact with the economy team, the council has appointed a new market operator that plans to run a monthly market of around 30 stalls on King Square, and I'm delighted to say that will actually be starting on the 16th of December.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you very much. And that's actually news to me, Councillor Brooks, that that's been appointed and they're starting then. So that's greatly welcomed. However, there are still remain concerns that people have around Holton Road area in general. One of the best things that the administration did a couple of years ago was to hold a wider economic summit based around the Holton Road traders and other interested people at the docks offices. I was wondering if as the cabinet member in that position, should be interested in repeating that exercise, which I think was very well received at the time.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if that's linked to the market as such, but yeah, I'm happy to discuss that further with you, with officers, if you'd like to sort of just drop that into an email to me, Ian. Yep.
Thank you. Next question from Councillor Franks to the Leader regarding the financial settlement for councils. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillor Franks. I've had a significant number of meetings with Welsh Government ministers on the budget challenges and pressures. I've also had several meetings with Welsh Government as part of the wider WLGA arrangement and in my position as a spokesperson in a few areas. I'll continue to press for as good a settlement as possible, given the current position as set out by the Chancellor in his fiscal statement. Thank you.
Councillor Franks, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you. Given the lateness of any likely government budget statement that will impact on the Vale of Glamorgan, will you indicate how schools can be expected to draft their budget in these current circumstances? Thank you.
In the same way that we have outlined the timetable for setting the budget, when we would be coming forward with proposals, how that would be communicated to members, how it would be discussed in scrutiny and how it would go to final proposals. We've also had ongoing communication with schools, both through the school budget forum, through meetings with head teachers, etc. We keep them fully informed with as much as we know, as we have with members, and hopefully soon we'll be able to tell them more. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question from Councillor Franks to the Leader again regarding economic pressures. Councillor Burnett, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Councillor Franks. I continue to press the case both for adequate funding in the context of current financial challenges and the value and importance of local government services, particularly for our most vulnerable residents. I would refer you to my previous answer in regards of ongoing liaison, and actually I was only looking at it in the last week. I've actually had conversations with Jane Hutt, Vaughan Gethin, Elynyd Morgan, Hannah Blythe and Jeremy Miles, and as you'd be aware this morning with Rebecca Evans. At every opportunity I press the Vale Glamorgan's case. Thank you.
Councillor Franks.
Thank you. Could I mention, Mayor, sometimes your voice is a bit distorted, just terribly slightly, but I thought I'd mention it, but I'm coping. So thank you for the opportunity. Leader, has Welsh Government expressed any comment regarding the significant reserves held by the Vale Council? Certainly, many residents are bewildered that the council continues to say there's a lack of resources, yet there's such significant money put aside in the accounts.
I have to admit, you flummoxed me on this occasion. I don't really know how management of reserves links into how I'm engaging with Welsh Government, but I suppose I can go with it. Actually, one conversation, not necessarily with Welsh Government, but I have had with other leaders, is the inability of some councillors to understand the different purposes of reserves. How some reserves are earmarked, some are restricted, and only a small proportion, only about 5% in this council, are general fund reserves, which can be used for eventualities. And I think that, you know, I know you've been away for a while, Councillor Franks, but most members would understand the differentiation between those types of reserves. But also, though, you know, if you look at the refresh of the medium-term financial plan that's recently been undertaken, there was discussion of actually taking a refresh look at reserves to see whether or not reprofiling them in line with the current risk register might mean that there are some that can be usable, but we'll know that when we come forward with our budget in January. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cow, did you have a point of order at this point?
Sorry, forgive me if I just wanted to, but I think she's answered the question. I was going to say.
Sorry, Councillor Cow, forgive me.
Yeah.
Stopping you. I'm afraid councillors are not able to come in relation to questions that they've not asked. So if you have a follow-up question, can I suggest you put that perhaps in writing to the leader subsequently?
I will do.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And thank you for your indulgence, Leader, in response to that supplementary question. Councillor Franks, can I respectfully remind you of the point I raised before we got to this agenda item, which is supplementary questions must relate directly to the question asked or the answer given, and I'd be very grateful if you'd bear that in mind. Forgive me, I'm still talking. Forgive me, I'm still talking. I'd be grateful if you'd bear that in mind for any future supplementary questions you may have. And we'll move on to the next question, which is from Councillor Franks to the Leader regarding possible proposed cuts. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillor Franks. I think I should correct the typo. The indication from Welsh Government was that services would increase by 3.5 next year, 2.4 the year after. Notwithstanding that, Cabinet approved the financial strategy and the medium-term financial plan, as I mentioned on the last question, and that was the refresh on the 6th of October, which assumed this level of funding and identified an overall budget gap of £28 million. The report also set out the timetable, including key dependencies for approving the 2023-24 budget, and it may be helpful to refresh yourself with that report. As for specific details, I suggest you wait for the draft settlement from Welsh Government on the 13th of December and the various reports that will follow that. when you'll get an opportunity to respond as part of the process, and there will be full discussion within scrutiny committees. Thank you.
Councillor Franks.
Thank you. I understand that officers have been asked to prepare budgets to include significant cuts. Will you supply a breakdown of such cuts?
Councillor Franks, we have a timetable where we will bring such discussions forward. It would be silly if we didn't look at scenarios while we were waiting for the announcements from Welsh Government, because that enables us to work within such short timescales. But to discuss the various scenarios at the moment would probably not be constructive, would it? Thank you.
Next question, thank you, Leader. Next question from Councillor Franks to the Leader regarding the Audit Wales report on poverty. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just shuffling some papers. And Councillor Franks. Alleviating poverty is one of the key areas of focus for the Council, and core funding provided by Welsh Government and raised through council taxes used for this purpose. Councillor Franks will be aware of the Council's corporate plan and annual delivery plan commitments to tackling poverty. In addition to the work the Council does utilising its core funding, the Council has received a wide range of grant streams in 2022-23. So there's the cost of living, that's £150 to all of those in bands A to D properties. That was £5,014,200. Discretionary cost of living payments to cover those not eligible for the £150 scheme and experiencing hardships, that's £824,865. Winter fuel payments, £1,705,400 to date, with £191,600 pending. The Direct Support Fund, which is £50,096, Food Partnership funding £97,000, and Warm Bank funding £33,136. Welsh Government has awarded all of these grants, and there's been no application process required from the Council to Welsh Government. The distribution of the majority of the funding is determined through the grant guidance provided by Welsh Government. The discretionary cost of living scheme is a key exception, and Cabinet agreed its scheme to allocate these funds on the 9th of June 2022. The Council has engaged with a wide range of organisations and community groups to invite bids for funding from the remaining schemes, and allocating these funding is currently underway. Thank you.
Councillor Franks.
Thank you for that, Leader. Does the Council's wellbeing plan include a robust set of consistent outcome indicators and measures to increase the understanding of poverty locally?
Councillor Franks, our plans do have specific indicators, but I don't understand what you're referring to in terms of understanding poverty. Who understanding poverty? The people that are in poverty or us? I'm really not sure. I'm not sure how it actually fits in with the amount of funding for tackling poverty. So I would request that you write to me and I will get an answer, the best answer I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader.
Next question from Councillor Franks, again to the Leader regarding the Audit Wales report on poverty, this time the alleviation of poverty. Councillor Burnett, please.
Sorry, I was muted. I was behaving myself. I think mainly, Councillor Franks, I would refer you to my earlier answer. But in terms of is it fully spent? The Household Support Fund is fully spent. The Direct Food Support Fund currently not. The Direct Food Support Fund 2, that of the 32,945, we spent 29,920. The cost of living discretionary fund, that's fully spent. The food partnership fund, we have an indicative amount of 97,000, but we are currently awaiting the terms and conditions on that. The Warm Banks Fund is 33,196, of which £11,671 has been spent, and we are currently working through applications for support on that. And so that means that of the total of £166,039, that's excluding the indicative amount for the Food Partnership Fund. And we've spent 124,338. Thank you.
Councillor Franks.
Thank you, Leader. That information was very helpful. A number of the budget lines you have indicated are fully spent, yet we have got 4 or 5 months of the year still to go. What's going to happen for the rest of the financial year?
I have to say, Councillor Franks, I'm not sure how that question relates to the Audit Wales report on poverty. Leader, can I check? Do you want that question to be forwarded to you outside the meeting, or do you want to? Hang on, Councillor Franks. Sorry, Councillor Franks, I'm still talking. Or do you want to respond to that now?
Well,
sorry,
I
Councillor
seek
Franks.
your...
Can I just get the leader's response on that? Thank you.
Again, I think it would be helpful to have a more specific question, but what I can say is that I outlined grants. What I said at the beginning of my earlier question was that the council, through its corporate plan and its annual delivery plan, actually already has extra activities to tackle poverty as well. So our work will continue, just not the specific grant work, because we'll be waiting for more grants, I should imagine, and spend those effectively as well.
Thank you. Next question from Councillor Franks regarding Audit Wales report on poverty and funding allocation. Councillor Burnett, please.
Mayor, could you just clarify which number we've had? I've had so many questions
yes.
from Councillor Franks. I'm slightly lost.
Yes, and many of these.
I'm sorry if I'm
pushing
you too far tonight, Leader.
So no, that's my responsibility to make sure that we ensure that councillors know where they are on the agenda. So we're on question number 10, Leader.
I thought
Thank you.
That's why I put 9 to one side. I'd have been repeating. Actually, my only answer for this one, because it's talking about how I will indicate how money is allocated for the alleviation of poverty, I will have to refer Councillor Franks to my previous 2 answers.
And Mayor and councillors, you'll be pleased to know I don't have a supplementary.
I must ask you to indicate if you want to speak,
well,
rather than just speaking.
Mayor, it's blindingly obvious I was going to say something. I don't really see.
Franks,
I don't really see the need for you to
Councillor Franks,
behave
please
like
don't
this.
speak while I'm speaking. I'm just
It's
asking
difficult to say anything because you constantly interrupt me.
Councillor Franks, I need to ask you to ensure that you follow the same protocol as all other members. I did remind all councillors at the beginning of the meeting the constitutional requirements, which is 1 speaker at a time, that I would ask councillors to indicate if they have a supplementary. So I must ask you to follow the same requirements as every other councillor. You've had the response from the leader to that question. Do you have a supplementary?
As I was trying to say about 5 minutes ago, you'll be very pleased to know I don't have a supplementary on that question.
Next question, question 11 from Councillor Franks to the leader again regarding Audit Wales report on poverty relating to digital exclusion. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Franks. The Council ensures that access to Council services and information can be accessed in a variety of ways, not just digitally. For example, consultation exercises are promoted in non-digital formats and with non-digital completion mechanisms. Council services remain accessible by telephone and face-to-face. The Council has an established digital inclusion network which provides training in the use of digital technology, and Councillor Franks may also be aware of the significant work undertaken during the pandemic to provide laptops and ensure internet access to pupils who did not have these at home to ensure continuity of learning during the pandemic. I mean, we also have free Wi-Fi in public buildings. There is a makerspace in Penarth and hopefully soon to be in Barry. We've had tablet loan services within libraries with associated training. And I think we have to recognise that it's not just poverty, but also digital literacy that we are tackling with this. And so that's why our services in terms of Get Back on Track and the various adult community learning services will also provide support for residents of the Vale. Thank you.
Next question from Councillor Franks to the leader regarding school funding. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Mayor and Councillor Franks. I and senior officers have met both with the school's budget forum and with all head teachers in the last month. For the 2022-23 financial year, schools are having to manage the pressure of significantly higher than anticipated pay awards and utility costs in exactly the same way as other council services are having to, because at the end of the day, schools are part of the council. They've been advised to carefully consider all discretionary spend and potentially look to reserves to manage the pressures. This mirrors the approach the council itself is taking across the rest of its services. Thank you.
Councillor Franks.
This current year, I think most, if not all, schools budgeted for a 3% uplift in staff costs. The actual pay rise was 5%. Now, this is a significant difference. Can you indicate if you will be supporting schools to bridge this gap?
Councillor Franks, I think I have to refer you to my earlier answer in terms of the timetable for budget announcements. But I think I would add to that is the council's budget itself was set on an assumption of a 3% pay increase. So the council as a whole is facing exactly the same difficulties. We continue to talk to schools and talk to their board, to their governing bodies, and we will work together to find a way through this. But we can't start that until we know what the settlement is from Welsh Government. Thank you.
Question 13 from Councillor Franks to the leader regarding school funding and Welsh Government grants. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Franks. As has been common practice, there has been no indication at this time. Typically, the majority of grant schemes are not confirmed until the new year, following the settlement and the announcement of the settlement in mid-December. Thank you.
Councillor Franks.
Thank you. I must say this lack of information from Welsh Government and indeed yourself is very disconcerting for many schools.
Councillor Franks, do you have a question?
And my question is, How on earth do you expect schools to manage when they're receiving information or lack of information as you've displayed tonight?
Councillor Franks, I think I can answer with a question. How do you expect Welsh Government to make
On a point of
financial-
order, Madam Mayor, on a point of order, I am not here to answer questions. And Madam Mayor, you should be stopping the leader asking me questions. You should be treating all councillors the same. You just said to me, please do that in respect of the leader.
Thank you for making the point, Councillor Franks, and I do take the point, but it seems to me that the leader is asking a rhetorical question.
No, there's no rhetorical.
Councillor Franks, please let me finish speaking. I don't think the leader is asking you a direct question. I think she's phrasing her response as a rhetorical question, and on that basis, we'll move on and I'll ask the leader to complete her response. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I will turn it into a statement then. Welsh Government cannot be expected to make statements when they didn't get any indication of budget. In fact, absolute chaos in terms of indications of budget until mid-November. We cannot make any statements on budget. We can plan for scenarios until we have an indication of what Welsh Government will be allocating to us on the, well, it'll be the 14th of December. So to come out with criticism at this stage is highly irresponsible. And I actually think that it's a little bit beneath you, Councillor Franks.
And we move on to question 14 from Councillor Franks to the leader regarding school funding and budgets. Councillor Burnett, please.
As I have already indicated, Councillor Franks, I and senior officers met with the school's budget forum and all head teachers last month and have advised them to plan for 10% reductions, which is considered a worst case scenario in the absence of the detailed Welsh Government settlement at this time. The full impact of the Chancellor's budget announcement on the 17th of November is not fully understood, but a better outcome for schools is anticipated and hopeful, and officers are working through a number of scenarios which are being explored with school governors.
Councillor Franks.
Thank you for that answer. I have no further supplementary.
Thank you. We move on to question 15 from Councillor Bruce to the leader regarding funding for the next financial year. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bruce. It was actually very opportune that I bumped into the Minister for Finance and Local Government this morning, because I was able to double check the assertion that you made in your question. And this actually was the subject of a letter that was sent to Peredur Owen Griffiths MS, the chair of the Finance Committee, earlier this year. And it looked at the UK government's refusal to allow a level of flexibility in respect to individual revenue and capital controls. And where, following a protracted exchange with the Chief Secretary to Treasury and HM Treasury officials, they've been denied that flexibility to offset capital overspend with some of the revenue underspend. But I think it needs to be said, actually, that the underspend in UK government departments was 25 billion, which represents almost 6% of the total provision available to them. Whereas, and you know, if the Department of Health and Social Care alone underspent by over 9%, and a Barnet share of that would have amounted to over £1 billion for Wales. But the underspend in Wales, which you discuss, actually only represented 1% of the available resources, which actually seems to demonstrate a deal of effectiveness in managing, or in devolved governments managing their budgets. But the council continues to lobby Welsh Government through a number of different channels for additional funding. And this includes through the WLGA to ensure the additional resources as mentioned above. Additional resources above the committed 3.5% increase in the AEF in the Chancellor's budget announcement are directed to support adult social care and schools in particular.
Thank you. Councillor Franks, could I ask you to switch your camera and your microphone off? Thank you. Question 16 from Councillor Hennessy to the Leader regarding increase in staff absences. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillor Hennessy. Detailed absence statistics are presented to Cabinet and Corporate Performance and Resources Scrutiny Committee on a 6-monthly basis as part of agreed performance arrangements. The most recent report being presented to Cabinet on the 17th of November with reference on to Corporate Performance and Resources Scrutiny Committee on the 14th of December. So any member is actually able to attend there and speak if they so wish. Comparisons between July 2020 and July 2022 will indicate an increase, as during the pandemic, any COVID-related absences, so that's for the first 10 days, would have been considered as self-isolation and not sickness absence in line with our agreed policies. And so that would explain the disparity. Thank you.
Question 17 from Councillor Bruce to the Cabinet Member for Education, Arts and the Welsh Language regarding Roos Primary School windows. Councillor Birch, please.
Thank you for the question. The cost per window is currently quoted between £1,400 and £1,900, with individual costs varying on the requirements of each window. It is anticipated, however, that the final cost will be lower as a number of windows have been capable of being repaired in situ.
Thank you. Question 18 from Councillor.
Sorry, I didn't even have a chance to put my mic on.
I beg your pardon, Councillor Bruce. I didn't see you raise your hand, so
no,
I missed
sorry,
the fact that. No, that's
I didn't
absolutely
anticipate
fine.
the question being so quick. The answer, sorry.
That's fine, Councillor Bruce. Please do ask a supplementary if you have one.
Well, having looked at the cost of replacement windows on a listed building, they can be from £250 before fitting. Would it not have been more prudent to replace each window? A quicker and more efficient job would have been more durable as well.
Well, the current window works at Roos Primary were budgeted at £24,560. It is likely, however, that the outturn will be closer to 20,000, as the original quote provided for taking the windows out. However, for many of them, the refurbishment has been able to be carried out in situ. This replacement is part of a phased programme of work for Roos. A higher specification for the painting on this phase of the works was included, as it was felt that the previous phases of refurbishment were looking tired. In terms of comparing the price for this phase of work, the costs are very similar when allowance is made for the areas of higher specification and the increase in building prices.
Thank you. And just to remind councillors, if you want to ask a supplementary question, if you could raise your hand, raise the automatic hand, and if for any reason you're not able to do that, please do switch your camera on and just raise your hand on screen just to help me see that you want to ask a question. So we move on to question 8.
I should have said for 15 windows.
Yeah, I think you've had the answer to your question, Councillor Bruce. So if there's any additional information that you want as a result of that, can I ask you to contact the Cabinet Member direct outside of this meeting? Thank you.
I will do that, yes.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bruce. And we move on to question 18 from Councillor Thomas to the Cabinet Member for Social Care and Health regarding support for residents with motor neuron disease. Councillor Williams, please.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Thomas. The Disability Facilities Grant offered by the Council helps towards the cost of adapting the homes of owner-occupiers, landlords and private tenants providing there is a disabled person living there as their main residence. The council offers the same service to all residents of the Vale with a disability that require housing adaptations of this nature. Subject to occupational therapy assessment, some individuals with specific conditions are given a higher priority status, and this speeds up the referral and application process.
Thank you, councillors. I'd like to follow up on that if possible.
Sorry, Councillor Thomas, did you want to ask a supplementary?
Yes, I would like to, please.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. So as I understand it, the Vale is one of only 4 local authorities in the whole of Wales that doesn't implement non-means testing for small and medium home adaptations, which was a specific point of my question. So residents in the Vale are having to outlay thousands and thousands of pounds on adaptations. So I spoke to a man called Richard who has finished work in the summer, doesn't have a regular income, and he's spending tens of thousands of pounds on adapting his own home, including 7,000 on a downstairs shower, which doesn't help people with MND
Sorry,
live in dignity.
forgive me, Councillor Thomas, do you have a question?
I do have a question. I'm just coming to it now. So I'd like to ask what the council will do to ensure that these vulnerable people with motor neurone disease don't have to spend huge sums of money, particularly as they're unable to work, on home adaptations so they can live with dignity.
I can't speak about that specific case, but I'm well aware that there is a particular process and an assessment, and unless the individual has actually applied for that assessment or referral and made a referral, then is unlikely to have any consideration. So if that individual has already done that, then by all means let me know and I can follow it up. Recognising there is a set amount of criteria, and it's down to the occupational therapy team to decide on the nature of the support that they require, and also that we've got an assessment team under the VCRS which also support. So the team are well experienced. They know what they can provide, and I'm sure that I have no issues. I've already been in contact with those 2 teams and recognise that those are working very well. So recognising that the adult services, social services, are very much aware of the need for urgent and timely responses to people diagnosed, and we will assess accordingly. So just I can leave that as the answer. I know the system is in place, and it's up to the individual to make a referral. More than happy for you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. So question 19 from Councillor Thomas regarding Escola expansion costs. Councillor Birch, please.
Thank you for the question. The current overall cost of the project is 21.944 million, with the council's contribution equating to 5.058 million based on the current intervention rate. Progression of the scheme is subject to approval by Welsh Government.
I'd like to follow up.
Yes,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Thomas, all you have to do is wave at me or lift your hand, so that's fine. Please ask your question.
Thank you. So obviously the sharp increase in costs associated with this project is a big concern to people across the Vale, especially with council tax increases expected. And one of the documents suggested that the reason for the huge increase in cost with the project was the need to incorporate a green roof and associated other ecological measures. I just think it's a staggeringly huge increase with justifications like that. So I'd like to ask what the council are doing to ensure efficiencies in the outlay on this project. How can they justify the cost rise? And is there to be any more ballooning in costs expected?
I think we can agree that that's probably 3 questions. So can I ask you just to think about which question you want to ask this evening, Councillor, and then perhaps you can
what's the
follow
justification
up,
in the
perhaps you can then follow up.
rise?
Sorry, if you'd like to repeat that, just so the
I
council is
will.
clear.
Sorry, I think we're talking over each other a little bit. So I'd just like to know the justification then for the significant cost increase associated with the project.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
okay. The costs associated with the Escola expansion have increased since the project was first consulted on in November 2020. Obviously, a lot has happened in the world since then. The original anticipated cost was 11 million. This was increased to 12.1 million to account for the Welsh Government announcement that all new schools needed to be net zero carbon in operation. Since the initial increase in the cost of the scheme, the Council has submitted a full planning application and has produced a detailed design based upon the relevant site surveys. The creation of the detailed design for the proposed building has
Councillor Birch, forgive me for interrupting you. You're actually breaking up a little bit. And in fact, for me, you've frozen. Councillor, yes, I can see other members indicating as well. Councillor Thomas, with your indulgence, if I can ask you to hold that supplementary question. We're going to give Councillor Birch an opportunity to resolve any connection issues that she's having, and I'm going to move on. But when Councillor Birch is back with us, then we will make sure that your supplementary question is answered. Is that all right, Councillor?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll move on to question number 20, which is from Councillor Carroll regarding the 2022-23 capital programme. And that's for Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillor Carroll. There have been regular reports throughout the year on the delivery of the Council's capital programme, which have been referred on to the scrutiny function.
Yes.
We report.
No, just.
Forgive me, Leader. I think that an officer is trying to resolve Councillor Birch's issues, and somebody has their mic on. So if we just ask everybody to switch their mics off, and forgive me for interrupting you, Leader, and we'll come back to you now. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll start again. There have been regular reports throughout the year on the delivery of the Council's capital programme, which have been referred on to scrutiny committees. We reported in July, October and November, and the next report will come forward shortly in January. Thank you.
Councillor Carroll.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and I thank the Leader for her answer. In the reports to which the Leader referred, tens of millions of pounds of slippage was reported. So by the end of the financial year, how many capital projects does the Leader expect will have been delayed?
Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I would imagine that it's probably more than we reported in November when we report in January. But at the moment, officers' time is taken on the budget setting process, and so we will have an update on the capital situation in January, and I'll be able to give a more complete answer at that point. Thank you.
Councillor Birch is back with us, I'm delighted to say. So I'm going to take us back to the supplementary question which was asked by Councillor Thomas regarding Ysgol Derry expansion costs. And Councillor Thomas, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your supplementary question related to asking the Cabinet member to give a justification for costs. Thank you, Councillor Birch.
Okay, thank you. The costs associated with the Ysgol Derry expansion have increased since the project was first consulted on in November 2020. The original anticipated cost was 11 million. This was increased to 12.1 million to account for the Welsh Government announcement that all new schools needed to be net zero carbon in operation. Since the initial increase in the cost of the scheme, the Council has submitted a full planning application and has produced a detailed design based upon the relevant site surveys. The creation of the detailed design for the proposed building has resulted in increased costs for the project associated with construction. Furthermore, the construction sector has been significantly impacted by global events in the past 2 years, including the pandemic and the war in the Ukraine, which has dramatically inflated the cost of construction materials. The increased inflation and the redesign of the project has seen the cost rise for the project to 21.944 million. Welsh Government are currently considering the full business case for the project based on the new cost, and a decision is expected in early January from the Minister for Education and Welsh Language. The intervention rate for the scheme is 75% Welsh Government funded and 25% council funded, with Welsh Government funding 100% of the net zero carbon measures associated with the project. This equates to the council funding 5.058 million for the scheme. The additional council funding to cover the increased costs has been sourced from within the existing programme through rearranging intervention rates on other schemes and amending the scope of the programme.
Thank you, Councillor. And we move forward now to question 21 from Councillor Carroll to the leader regarding Warm Spaces Scheme. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Carroll. Thank you for the question, and I'm very pleased to offer an update. The Council's Warm Spaces Scheme is also called Croeso Cynnes, which is a warm welcome, and details are prominently shown on the Council's website. So if you go onto the Council's website, it actually is a banner right across the top, so that people hopefully can't miss it. And it provides information and support on a range of cost of living issues, as well as the warm welcome. This information is being widely shared by the council and partners in a range of formats. A warm welcome, or Croeso Cynnes, is part of our work to support residents during the cost of living crisis. And much as I really wish that this wasn't necessary. This is a network of community spaces that offer a warm and inviting place to come together this winter at no cost. And it was brought home to me the other day when I came across a 91-year-old lady that was disoriented on a bus at 6:30 in the evening, who had gone shopping in Barry to stay warm because she'd been locked out of her house. She went home in the dark and didn't know where she was. So it's so essential. There are currently 26 such facilities offering a warm welcome, comprising both council and non-council venues. Council officers are continuing to work with community groups and others to identify, support and promote further opportunities for a warm welcome this winter. It should be more than just a static travelling around on a bus, and I'm hugely thankful to everybody that's getting involved. I'd like to specifically take this opportunity to thank the community groups and council teams who have once again stepped up to help these vulnerable people. And as I said, however bleak it is that we're having to do this in the UK in 2022. A report to Cabinet will follow in the next few weeks with further information. Thank you.
Councillor Carroll.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And as the leader said, this is an important scheme. Of the 26 spaces currently listed on the council website, several of them are only currently available for a few hours each week. So what action is being taken to try and increase these hours and make those spaces available for longer periods?
Councillor Burnett.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Carroll. That was the start. It started off as 20. It's now 26. We continue to talk. We continue to talk to anybody that is able to work with us, and we're also will be developing our own services. We started planning this before we actually had the terms and conditions of the grant from Welsh Government, and as I said, our staff stepped up immediately. So this is just the start, and there will be more details coming through, and as I said, there will be a report to Cabinet in the next few weeks with a lot more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question at number 22 from Councillor Carroll to the Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services regarding the weight limit on Leckwith Bridge. Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll, for your question. I can assure you that the council is managing and monitoring the situation in an appropriate manner to ensure the safety of all users. As such, I can confirm the council has undertaken a monitoring regime of the critical elements on a scheduled basis, and we should commission a principal inspection and assessment of the structure by specialist consultants. This work will take place in the new calendar year and it's anticipated that reports will be available in spring 2023. At that stage, any recommendation on necessary actions in relation to the weight limit or any other element of the structure will be considered in more detail.
Councillor Carroll.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. The proposed Brinwell Solar Farm has recently acquired planning permission, and the existing weight limit means that all current traffic, construction traffic, will have to travel through Landock. Given the implications of this, will the Cabinet member ensure that upgrading the bridge is treated as a priority?
Thank you very much for your supplementary. The Leckwith Bridge and Viaduct has a current weight limit of 7.5 tonnes, which has been imposed to safeguard the conditions of the structure following recommendation by previous structural inspection and assessment by state accountants many years ago. To manage this weightlifting limit as effectively as possible, the council liaising with the police and enforcement of this weight limit over the bridge structure, which has the sole power to deal and recently identify necessary improvements to signage for the bridge, and the work is ongoing. In terms of any application for anything, we cannot predetermine that, can we? Thank you.
Thank you. Question 23 from Councillor Carroll regarding dog fouling. Councillor Wilson, please.
On here. It's gone.
Hello, Councillor Wilson. Did you hear me speak?
No, I did not. I hear you now.
That's fine. Let's try again. So this is question 23 on the list of questions. It's from Councillor Carroll and it regards dog fouling.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. All right, dog fouling is an activity that the council's enforcement officers can enforce under Dog Control Public Safety Protection Order, which is also known as PSPO. This PSPO came into force in March 2021 and lasts until March 2024. Those found not to be picking up after a dog over may have control and are in breach of the PSPO and are therefore committing a criminal offence. The current PSPO is location specific rather than referring to any land in which the public has access. Consequently, at this time, while we can only issue fixed penalties in those areas listed in the PCSO schedule, my enforcement team regularly undertakes patrols of these areas where the PSPO is not enforced on an education basis.
Councillor Carroll.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It's my understanding that a Vale-wide PSPO is currently under consideration. Will the Cabinet member provide an update on when this is likely to come into force to ensure that enforcement action can be taken in all areas, including Lewis Road in Landock, which has become a hotspot in recent weeks?
Thank you very much for your supplementary, Councillor Carroll. I'm happy to go to any area to look into any consideration, including Lewis Road, but I will also remind you and other members there is an operation going on called Operation Snoopy, which began in 2021 and will start again on December the 8th. This operation specifically targets those locations for which we have received intelligence of regular offending and is enforced using a mixture of uniformed and plainclothes enforcement areas. I'm sure Operation Snoopy and his mates would probably like to go there and visit Lewis Road along with other locations of Glamorgan where you think there are issues. And again, it applies to other members as well. Those found to be in breach of the PSPO will be issued with an on-the-street £100 fixed penalty notice. In other areas, it will be for enforcement officers to educate and encourage people to comply.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, question 24 from Councillor Cave regarding the recycling centre in Llandau. Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you very much for your question, Councillor Cave. In 2018, the council reported that the current recycling centre in Clandown is, I quote, outdated, not user-friendly, has limited capacity and ongoing issues with the access road, end of quote. Access is virtually impossible in a normal family car. Good, okay. That's my response.
Councillor Wilson, I think possibly you may have read some of the question.
Yeah, apologies.
From Councillor Cave. Would
right,
you like to have another go? Thank you.
Yes, I will do. Apologies for that. There's an ongoing search for land to enable relocation of the existing household waste recycling centre at Landau. Unfortunately, at this time, there are no viable land options available for purchase or lease that meet the requirements of the environmental permitting and planning regulations, despite officers pursuing a number of options over the past 3 years. In the new year, the Council Estate section will be asked to renew the search for an alternative site, and in the interim, the service intends to extend the agreement on the existing site for a further 2 years.
Councillor Cave, I assume you have a supplementary?
Yes, I have raised my hand, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. So I'm a little bit surprised by the answer I've received, because basically we're seem to be back to the drawing board we were at 4 years ago. So as the previous Labour cabinet failed for the last 4 years to achieve an accessible recycling centre in the Western Vale, what are you going to do differently so that we don't have another 5 years of Labour cabinet failing in this regard?
Thank you very much for your supplementary, Councillor Kay. We are endeavouring to look for alternative sites, but at the moment we are having great difficulty in finding them. Therefore, we are continuing to use this site.
Thank you. Next question from Councillor Haynes regarding the demand for council housing. This is for the Cabinet Member for Public Sector Housing and Tenant Engagement. Councillor Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. There are 5,445 households currently registered on the Council's housing list, Homes for You.
Councillor Haynes.
Well, thank you for the answer, Councillor, but it's not the answer to the question I asked. I asked the question, what is the demand for need for housing? And how is this need defined? In other words, if there's a list, how many of those people on the list are in need of housing, and how does a cabinet member define that need? If you don't mind me finish, once you define the need, then obviously I could then ask my supplementary question.
Right,
Thank you.
there is a scheme. It'll be Gold Plus, Gold, Silver or Bronze. And the people that's on the list are desperate for their homes. They could be homeless, they could be temporary accommodation or anything. But there is 5,445 households, and we have got a list, and that's what we go by.
Mayor, can I please have an answer to the question that is asked? I'm being told there's a council list and everyone in that list is in need. Is that what you're saying? If I put my name on the council list, I'm in need.
You'll be assessed by a council officer, housing officer.
Where on that list is the need defined? It's a simple question, Mayor, honestly.
Well, it'll be homelessness, children living in poverty, in homelessness, losing their homes through, they lost their homes through mortgages, they failed behind, or there's other different, they're all on the list for a reason. They're not there for nothing.
Right,
can I please ask a supplementary?
Thank you for the response. Yes, I think the cabinet member has answered the question, Councillor Haynes. So if you'd like to ask a supplementary at this point, please do.
This need for housing, is this information, in other words, the homeless, etc. I think in Gold and Gold Plus you were implying. This need, is it passed on to officers working on the LDP and planners? And obviously the planning committee to aid in them making their decisions.
Of course, all officers know about how much we need houses. and it goes to planning. And if we could get more planning through, we'd build more for more houses to be built for these people that's in need. But they are recognised as need for council properties.
Thank you, Councillor. Next question, question number 26 from Councillor Haynes to the Deputy Leader regarding the feasibility study for St Athan Train Centre. Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Haynes, for your question. There are currently no plans to undertake feasibility studies of the need for a new train station in St Athan.
Councillor Haynes.
As this second tranche of the feasibility isn't going to be conducted, which is, I'm deeply sad about it, are there any plans to offset the increase in traffic due to Brotathan and the Aberthor energy site? Public transport plans, that is. Thank you.
Okay. Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure with that, but if you'd like, I'd be more than happy to meet with you and the other local members to discuss the work that we have undertaken so far, and also looking then at other options as well. So if that's of any use, if you could drop me an email and we can arrange that.
Thank you, Councillor. Next question from Councillor Haynes regarding damp and mould in council housing stock. Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you very much. The council has procedures in place to investigate and resolve damp and mould in its council properties. All damp and mould concerns raised by tenants result in inspection in the first instance and works initiated in line with the appropriate response. This can range from tenant advice, treatment of the mould, installation or replacement of extraction equipment to engagement of specialists for advice and more specialist works.
Councillor Haynes.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Now, this supplementary question comes from a resident, so please bear in mind that it has come from a resident who has concerns. Is there any correlation between the recent increase in mould, at least in his house, he believes, due to the cladding that has been added to the houses in St Athan?
Thank you very much for your response. I'm happy to get my officers to look into that and give you a full written answer. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And just to remind any members of the public who may be listening to this live or online that you are able to submit questions to Council direct if you wish to do so. Question 28 from Councillor Wood to the Leader regarding Oracle Cloud rollout cost. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Wood. The current cost to date to roll out is as described in the Revenue Monitoring Report and the 29th of September Cabinet Report, which states approximately 3.9 million.
If I may. This obviously represents quite an overshoot from the original planned budget cost. Are there any plans to conduct a review of this once the entire process is completed to generate any learnings, for want of a better phrase, for future large IT projects like this, so we don't overshoot again by such a large margin?
Indeed, a report has been requested by Corporate Resources and Performance Scrutiny Committee on lessons learned, which will be presented in due course. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Question 29 from Councillor Hooper to the Leader regarding the obligations of developers on the waterfront in Barry. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hooper. I'm aware, Councillor Hooper, that you've been in contact with the planning enforcement team regarding the provision of open space in the development and that were provided an update on the 21st of November regarding the ongoing enforcement case relating to the incomplete public open space areas at Barry Waterfront. As advised at that time, the Council has been taking legal action against the consortium to ensure they focus their attention on implementing the incomplete areas of open space. In fact, we've taken legal action before, but we always choose where and when to do it. However, Council has advised that the dispute resolution clause in the legal agreement should be exhausted before taking formal legal action. There's been no further update in the intervening 2 weeks since you had that last update. The Council's legal team are still liaising with Council to establish the best way to try and resolve the dispute in accordance with the resolution clause. Thank you.
Next question from Councillor Hooper to the leader regarding the Cardiff City region attendance in France. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hooper. Clearly, in instances such as this, a balance needs to be struck between promoting the region and the need to be prudent when spending public money. There should be clear objectives set for activity, and I can assure Councillor Hooper that this is a debate that was held recently when the region's attendance at MIPIM was discussed during the Capital Region Cabinet. We do need to promote our region internationally to ensure investment in good quality jobs for the benefit of our residents and communities. The region's attendance at MIPIM is vital in promoting the economic opportunities that exist across the Vale and the wider region. However, that said, we will not be attending MIPIM either at officer or member level.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you, Leader, for that, and thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just follow up on that? Does that mean this council won't be attending it, or the Cardiff City region won't be sending officers?
This council will not be attending.
Thank you.
And then question 31 from Councillor Hooper to the leader regarding community wealth building. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hooper. Community wealth building is indeed one model, but as an English City Council, Preston differs in its remit from ours. For example, I understand they don't have responsibility for either education or social care, which together account for 3/4 of our budget. Since 2012, the Council has adopted a proactive approach to developing the local economy and communities. We call it whole town regeneration, which is holistic and sustainable, and it means that people and place are the foundation of work that spans cabinet portfolios. It includes housing and education as much as economic development and planning, and I've written a number of articles on it in publications such as Bevan Foundation or Welsh Housing Quarterly, which I can point you to. We work with partners to develop and deliver schemes and use procurement with regard to large projects to deliver award-winning community benefits outcomes. But we want to do much more. A revised procurement policy and strategy is coming to Cabinet early in the next year, and I look forward to discussing that with members at that point. Thank you.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you for that answer as well. And it's good to hear there's some good work going on in there. What I just encourage the Leader to do, and I'm happy to offer some support as well, is to consider community wealth building as another string to the bow of this council. We're about to head into perhaps a £50 million deficit, and I would ask that I'm happy to meet with the Leader to talk about how it's worked in other places, not just Preston, elsewhere in the future.
I think most members would know, and also hopefully members of the public, that I'm always happy to meet and to discuss any interesting ideas. But I also have the book, which I've had for quite a while as well. So I'm sure we'll have a productive discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 32 from Councillor Hooper to the Leader regarding the Kickstart scheme. Councillor Burnett.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hooper. I am just juggling some papers at the moment. There we are. So in terms of how many Kickstart placements were created by the council, that was 97. How many of those placements were taken up? That was 59. Of those roles that have come to the end of the 6 months, how many have found a role. Well, in the Vale of Glamorgan, we still have 5 employed by the Vale, 3 as apprentices, but some others have stayed but employed through agencies, etc. And that's more difficult to track and monitor. Elsewhere, we haven't been able to keep data from those that have left and the roles that they've moved to. Is the council providing any post-scheme, post-follow-up support or follow-up support to these individuals? And if so, what is it? Well, while still employed by the council, either as established staff or agency, they have support and development available to all staff. Unfortunately, we don't have the resource to be able to provide extended support to individuals that have left our employment, but we would highlight the excellent work of the adult learning team, which provides all sorts of skill building and get back on track courses. And hopefully by their experience of the council, that they will be more minded to take that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question from Councillor Hooper to the leader regarding former Councillor Hampton. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you.
I think we may have lost the leader. Let me just check. Yes, I think we have. So Councillor Hooper, with your indulgence, we will just wait while the leader reconnects. And I'm just going to give you fair warning that I'm going to jump to question 35. Oh, the leader's back. The leader's back. Great. So
do you want me to start there, Mayor, or shall I?
Yes, if you could start again. We lost you completely. So if you just start from the beginning, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, my entire system went down, unfortunately. So, but I am back. Fingers crossed, it's not temporary. So yes, it's. I have to say, I'm disappointed at this question. You know, even as a new member, Councillor Hooper should be aware of how candidates are selected to stand, how political appointments are made. I'm not the leader of the Conservative group and never have been, probably never will be. Perhaps the question should be best directed to the leader of that group or former leaders of that group, given that it is they that would have established their own cabinets, memberships of any committees and outside representation. That said, if anyone has any specific concerns around the issues you raise, they can contact me direct, the Chief Executive or the Council's Monitoring Officer, and we'll do our very best to assist. Thank you.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you for your answer, Leader, and I do appreciate, and I appreciate this is a question that is somewhat sensitive in many ways as well. But I think given that the inquiries that the Savile inquiry and the BBC showed that the institution, which is the question, you're the leader of the institution, I'm asking. I'm not asking it as a leader of a political group. Did the institution protect Tony Hampton in his position? And what I think we need, and I think what the public would want, because justice has a long tail and it needs to be seen through, is that this council undertakes an inquiry to see whether or not at any time was the council protecting this predatory paedophile. The reason this is important is obviously because of the victims in this case, but clearly we've had situations in the past where institutions have been proven to do it. Will the leader commit to an inquiry? And if not, perhaps you could give a good reason why not.
Councillor Hooper, this is a difficult question for a woman to answer, particularly a woman that has on 2 occasions reported inappropriate behaviour by men, and on both occasions reported it confidentially, and on both occasions been castigated publicly in the press. I feel passionately about such cases as this. In this country, our system usually presumes innocence until proven guilty. And I'm aware that as soon as charges were made, the then leader of the council, John Thomas, suspended Councillor Hampton from the Vale of Glamorgan Conservative Group. I am not aware of any allegations being made before that. But I would remind members that if they ever come across any suggestions of wrongdoing under the Code of Conduct, it is their responsibility to report that. The monitoring officer of this council wrote formally to the Ombudsman on the matter, repeatedly. The council issued a press statement in the name of the monitoring officer, and the then leader referred the matter to the Conservative group. The leader advised his entire group and also informed other group leaders of the position and action taken. And the clerk of Barry Town Council was also advised of all the above. One of the processes that I've wanted to bring in for a long time, and we successfully brought it in just before the last election, was for all councillors to have DBS checks carried out, and that in any position of seniority should have an enhanced DBS check. To my knowledge, all except 6 of our councillors so far have either completed or in the final stages of completing that process. I hope that the other 6 undertake that very quickly. If you'd like to write to the monitoring officer laying out your reasons for why you think an inquiry is necessary, then it is within your rights to do so. But at the moment, my understanding is that none of the cases were linked to the council. And as I said, there is no suggestion at the moment, other than in some of the press articles that I think have been created by this question, that this council was specifically connected. So much as I would love everybody to be brought to book if for wrongdoing, I don't think there's anything to be gained for this council or for the victims of ex-Councillor Hampton by dredging this up publicly. My answer on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. We move on to the next question, question 34 from Councillor Perry to the Leader regarding the accessibility of council documents. Councillor Burnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillor Perry. I was reading this and I was thinking life has moved on hugely since the 90s, whenever anything was paper, and I got a plain English award off Toya Wilcox. That was a nice day. But in fact, the Vale of Glamorgan Council has had in place a plain language and style guide for many years. The guidance is available for staff to refer to on StaffNet, and the guidance covers such things as plain language and style guide, plain language on the website, plain language dictionary, guide to punctuation, style guide, grammar guide, avoid Latin. I should have done that in school. Avoid saying the same thing twice, easy to see publications, words that often cause confusion. This guidance can be used in all types of documents. Earlier this year, we communicated information about creating accessible documents to those staff who create web content. And this information has been promoted to our network of CMS editors via the monthly web editor bulletin that's sent to staff. The communications team are now reviewing documents that come through to be approved for publication as part of ensuring more consistency and accessibility. I'd like to thank Councillor Perry for raising this important issue, and I can assure you that priority is being given to this area, particularly for significant corporate documents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perry, you have a supplementary question.
Yeah, I'm just having a look here. I did an accessibility check actually on the document we have our questions on, and there seems to be a misunderstanding and perhaps a lack of training on the actual question was about PDFs. So yeah, plain English is one thing, but for screen readers, there are several issues with the actual document that our questions are on. One, when you do save as, you should save as and add
Forgive me,
title.
Councillor Perry.
Yeah,
forgive
but
me.
I think that my question, the point of my question
Can
was sort of missed.
If
But I think there
you
needs
could
to
just reiterate the question that you want to ask, that would be very helpful.
Can we have more, perhaps look again at PDF accessibility and provide training to officers who publish things for the public to read, such as the document that we're reading off at the moment, so that it is accessible for screen readers completely.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. I'll ask the comms team to get in touch with you to discuss the matter further, if that's okay.
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question from Councillor Perry regarding empty dwellings. Councillor Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. Empty properties vacant for at least 1 month, 9. At least 3 months, 1. At least 6 months, 11. At least 3 years, 4. And the longest vacancy has been since 19th of April 2015.
Councillor Perry?
Well, 2015, so that is 7 years.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's quite extraordinary.
Question
yeah.
for me.
Is that due to financial restraints that we have so many properties empty for so long? For example, I think that would be, more than 6 months is in double figures. Is that due to a lack of maintenance, due to budget, or why?
The long-term vacancy properties are empty for a range of reasons, a majority of which requires extensive, costly structural repairs. Technology and everything else goes into the mix with this. Some projects were delayed due to the impact of the COVID, and a smaller number have previously been subject to viability appraisals. The majority have required re-rendering because of these delays due to the issue of rising costs and contractors, because we're having trouble getting contractors now. And especially they cannot hold their prices. This will result in us having to render and eventually start looking at more budgets and putting out for more contracts to come forward, and then we can move forward and get all our houses completely up to date. But it's only for certain ones. It's not for, and the one that's been empty for a long time has got a lot of work to be done to it, and we're re-looking at it, what we can do with that property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Perry, forgive me. Can I ask you to put your hand down and just raise it so I'm really clear that you want to ask a supplementary in relation to the previous question, because I'm conscious we've got a lot of questions from you now and I don't want to have to keep checking with you if you have a supplementary. Thank you, I really appreciate it. So your next question is regarding housing occupancy, and this is for Councillor Wilkinson, please. Question 36, Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you. The current average turnaround for standard voids is 22 calendar days, which is quicker than most social housing associations and landlords. in Wales. In terms of occupation, the current number of void total 25, which equates to a rate of 99.4. The council has no difficulty in letting dwellings and endeavours to return properties for the letting at the earliest opportunities.
Just
Councillor
quickly.
Perry.
Yeah. Do you have any information on the people moving? Are they moving to other Vale Glamorgan council properties? And if so, how many of the people who move properties are moving to other Vale Glamorgan council owned properties?
I think that's more than, sorry, give me Councillor Wilkinson for interjecting. I think that's probably more than one supplementary question. So would you like to think about which one you want to ask tonight, Councillor Perry?
Yeah, the people who are leaving a Vale Glamorgan council owned property, what proportion of them are moving to other Vale of Glamorgan council owned properties?
Thank you for clarifying. Councillor Wilkinson.
I'm not quite sure of how many, but I can get that answer for you. But a lot of people do like to move towards their families, or if they've got a bigger family, they like a bigger home. But I will get the answer complete to you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Next question from Councillor Perry to the Cabinet Member for Social Care and Health regarding road noise. This is question 37 for Councillor Williams, please.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Perry. Yeah. Well, thank you for the question regarding road noise. I'm aware that your concerns over road noise in relation to St Nicholas and Bomston have been considered and addressed in previous correspondence with the council officers. I recognise that the public health concerns relating to traffic and road noise nationally. I can confirm that I am aware of the Welsh Government Noise and Soundscape Action Plan 2018-2023, and whilst this document does have a legal status and the council has due regard for the specific requirements and responsibilities within the document, it is the case that there is no explicit legal requirement on local authorities to take action to reduce road noise. However, the document does make it clear that public bodies should consider noise as a factor in well-being, and as such I would reassure you that any highways resurfacing works which are deemed necessary and programmed via the Council's Highway Resurfacing 3-year plan will consider the use of appropriate material specification in order to minimise the potential impact of road noise on local communities. Thank you, Leader.
Councillor Perry.
Yeah, when drawing up the resurfacing plan, the health and well-being of residents wasn't considered or road noise. Can that be changed so that when the next resurfacing plan comes out in 3 years' time, and hopefully the current one can be reviewed and changed, that road noise is a factor that's taken into consideration when choosing which roads to resurface?
Well, you made a judgment there on the basis where the housing one wasn't considered, and I don't think you can do that because, as we've just said, part of that, the action plan's been going on from 2018 to 2023. However, the officers do consider any changes in legislation prior to any actual works that they carry out, and if that's a particular issue that needs to be dealt with, then I'm sure they'll look into it.
Thank you. Next question from Councillor Perry to the Deputy Leader regarding severed route between Walterston and Dufferin. Councillor Brooks, please, we're on question 38.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Perry. Oh, excuse me. Improvement works undertaken along the 5 Mile Lane were subject to a public inquiry, as I'm sure you're aware of. And at that public inquiry, it was confirmed that whilst the route provided cycle infrastructure, it was not required at that time to be an active travel route. So the lanes between Dufferin and Walterston were not included on the Vale of Glamorgan's integrated network map 2017 and are currently not identified as active travel routes on the active travel network map, which was approved by Welsh Government in August 2022. Therefore, active travel funding cannot be used to make any improvements to this section.
Councillor Perry.
Yeah, I realise it's before your time, but you're not supposed to, according to the Active Travel Act, make things worse. And in several circumstances on that route, things have been made worse. And there's £26 million spent on making active travel routes that are not official on the map worse.
Can I just remind you, Councillor Perry, of the advice I gave at the beginning of the meeting, which is once you've asked a question, you're entitled to ask a supplementary question, but we're not looking for statements or speeches at this stage. So if you could confine your response to a supplementary question, if you have one, I would be really grateful. Thank you, Councillor Perry. And we move on now to the next question from yourself, which is regarding the A4226 active travel provision, forgive me. And this question is for Councillor Brooks, please. Question 39. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Perry. As mentioned in my response to the last question, works undertaken along the 5 Mile Lane were subject to a public inquiry. And at that public inquiry, it was confirmed that whilst the route provided cycle infrastructure, it was not required at that time to be an active travel route. So the A4226, as we commonly know it as the 5 Mile Lane, and the lanes between Dyffryn and Waddesdon were not included on that the Vale of Glamorgan's integrated network map 2017. Now, a small section of the 5 Mile Lane, which from Waycock across to the Hawkins Centre, is on the current active travel network map, and that which was approved then in August 2022 by Welsh Government. The 2019 work on the A4226 or 5 Mile Lane has included the provision of a shared use footway cycleway from Waycock Cross to just past the Hawkins Centre, and this has passed a recent audit, and therefore no improvements will be made to this section at this time.
Yeah,
Councillor Perry.
Yeah, do you think that the 2019 works was a missed opportunity to actually do something that was great rather than
as I've stated, that included the provision of that shared use footway and cycleway. And I think, the recent audit that we did undertake has actually shown that we don't need any more improvements at this moment in time. And I think that section is actually quite well used now. I drive up and down the 5 Mile Lane on a regular basis, and actually I'm seeing more and more people using that.
Yeah. Could I see the audit report? That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
I'm sure we can send that over to you, yeah.
Thanks.
Next question is from Councillor Perry to the Cabinet Member for Community Engagement, Equalities and Regulatory Services regarding public rights of way. This is question 40 for Councillor Savignon, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Perry. The Public Rights of Way team have procedures in place to enforce any infringements, and the team take a proactive approach to not only acting on reports that they receive, so any complaints that they receive from the members of the public, but also they keep a report of previous infringements and carry out any follow-up site visits to ensure compliance. Thank you, Chair.
Quickly,
Councillor Perry.
Yeah, where it's reoccurring and nothing's been resolved, including last year, how can we make things better? Because what you say sounds great, but nothing's changing.
Well, Councillor Perry, if you have evidence of this, then you should get in touch and I will discuss it with officers.
Okay, thank you.
Next question from Councillor Perry regarding environmental emergencies and housing. Councillor Savignon, please, question 41.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Perry. As you're aware, Councillor Perry, as a sitting member of the Planning Committee, the climate and nature emergencies are key considerations when planning applications are assessed. And these must be balanced with all other material considerations, including housing need. Where possible, the council seek to mitigate environmental impacts where necessary. So, for example, in the case of Myrtle Close in Penarth, over 400 replacement trees are to be planted. And there are, as he knows full well, further planning conditions relating to ecological enhancements. And I say full well because, of course, you were at the planning meeting 2 weeks ago when this matter was discussed. Thank you, Chair.
Next question from Councillor Perry regarding a school waiting area in St Nicholas. Councillor Sivignon, question 42, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Perry. Again, I'm aware that, Councillor Perry, that you were in attendance at the planning meeting when these issues were discussed. You will therefore be fully aware of this decision, which sought to balance the competing material considerations as set out in the proposals for the new school, and those also associated with the Planning Committee report. The new footway to the front of the school creates a safer pedestrian environment for public use in the vicinity of the school entrance and exit. But as a reminder for you, Councillor Perry, in relation to the removal of the hedgerow, it will be replaced with a mature hedgerow along the front of the school, the site facing towards School Lane, to ensure that there's visual amenity of the area, that the visual amenity of the area is maintained. The trees being removed are being replaced throughout the site. So in total, 4 trees are being removed and 19 new trees will be planted throughout the school site, which significantly exceeds the normal 2-to-1 replacement ratio. And I have to say that I'm happy that the scheme that was submitted and approved balanced all the relevant competing demands, and will provide much needed new accommodation for the children who will be attending the new school at St Nicholas and who attend there now. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Perry.
Yeah, the 20-metre long footway. What's the benefit? Where does it go to? We're all a bit confused here. Speaking for all residents in this case.
So the footway is for people to congregate once they've dropped, not to deliberately congregate, but once they've dropped off children and collecting children, there is an area for them to meet. It is an area that's designed for pedestrians to congregate when dropping off and picking up.
Yes, it's not really a footway; it's a waiting area.
Sorry, Councillor Perry, I think you've had the answer to your question. If you have any remaining concerns or outstanding issues, please do raise them outside of this meeting. Question 43 from Councillor Perry regarding the efficient use of limited space in Church in Wales School in St Nicholas. Councillor Sivignon, please.
Sorry, Chair, is this is number 43 now, question number 43.
Question 43, yes, thank you.
Sorry. So I would refer Councillor Perry to my previous answer and reiterate that as a member of the Planning Committee, when this matter was discussed, Councillor Perry will be fully aware that again, this decision sought to balance the competing material considerations as set out in the proposals for the new school and the associated Planning Committee report. The alternative proposal was not ignored and a comprehensive response was given as part of the pre-application consultation. The car park proposed by local residents would have resulted in reduced staff parking on site and would have required additional land to be purchased to allow additional circulation area. Consequently, the revised design was not considered to be an appropriate amendment. And again, I have to say I'm happy that the scheme submitted balanced all the relevant competing demands and again provided the new accommodation for school at St Nicholas.
Just a point of information.
Councillor Perry.
This went to planning in January or December months ago, and I wasn't elected
Councillor
till
Perry,
May.
forgive me. I really don't. I don't want to interrupt councillors in the meeting, but if you have a question, please do ask it. But we're not looking for statements or responses to questions other than that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we move on now to question 44 from Councillor Perry regarding the village green in Bombleston for Councillor Sivignon, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Perry. I would start by saying that the Vale of Glamorgan Council has nothing to apologise for, particularly when it's delivering much needed affordable housing in our rural villages. And again, Councillor Perry will be aware that the claim of village green on the land in question failed after the relevant public inquiry and was not therefore relevant for consideration in this planning application.
I think
Councillor
legally
Perry,
that's not quite
Councillor Perry,
correct.
Councillor Perry, do you have a question that you want to ask the cabinet member?
Yeah,
This is a place for questions, not statements.
Yes, perhaps the cabinet member would like to come back to community council and explain why she believes this. Thank you.
Is that a question, Chair?
I'm assuming that's an invitation, and therefore that is the question for you to respond to.
I'm happy to accept any invitation that Councillor Perry would like to send to me from the Community Council.
Thank you.
And then question 45 from Councillor Perry to the Deputy Leader regarding the Council's use of timber. Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Perry. The Council will always strive to use the most appropriate materials for construction and fencing or enclosures when dealing with its own properties. This could either be through the use of sustainably sourced timber, FSC certified, or using hedging or other suitable materials.
Oh, right. That's a bit short. Yeah, obviously FSC materials.
Do you have a question, Councillor Perry?
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a very short answer, really, because it's a very complex, sustainable building. What does the Vale Glamorgan, for example, also consider balance up between use of PVC windows and window frames of metal and timber, which are potentially less harmful to the environment?
Sorry, Councillor Perry, you've actually talked there about planting hedges and fences. So are you talking about our buildings, about using wood for windows? Because that's a slightly different question.
Well, it's slightly different. I mean, it's sustainable building is very complex, and we've only got a few sentences to express ourselves here. But in terms of building materials, I've mentioned timber, but do you look at the full impact of different materials? For example, using PVC fascias, can you use alternatives to reduce the environmental impact? Do you look at this sort of thing?
I mean, you've actually asked a different question there, which is not the supplementary. However, if you want to lay out that question in to an email to me, we can try our best to answer it that way.
Okay.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. And we move on to the final question from councillors this evening. This is a question from Councillor Champion regarding the proposed local development plan. And this question is for Councillor Sivignanem, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Champion. A delivery agreement containing the replacement local development plan for 2021 to 2036 timetable and community involvement scheme were approved by Welsh Government in May this year. The community involvement scheme sets out how and when stakeholders and communities will be involved in the review of the local development plan process. The council is currently at the pre-deposit stage, and the preferred strategy is due to be published for consultation in April-May next year, so 2023. In addition, as part of the review, the council is currently seeking to appoint consultants to undertake a retail capacity study, which will inform the emerging review of the local development plan in due course. In addition to which, there is the town centres framework, which was prepared by consultants and adopted by the council in February 2014. And I have a minute reference if Councillor Champion would like that.
Inside there, halfway up, we see some drill holes.
Sorry, forgive me. I'm not sure who's come off mute. Councillor Morgan, I think you've inadvertently come off mute. So if you could switch your microphone off, I would be very grateful. Forgive me for interrupting you, Councillor Sivignanem. I just wanted to make sure that everybody could hear the response you were giving. Please do continue.
So not at all. So if I just go back, so the town centres framework was prepared by consultants and adopted by the council in 2014. The aim of the framework, the town centres framework, was to guide the future of our 4 town centres in the Vale of Glamorgan. But obviously, this framework is quite old now, and really is I suppose time expired, and so will be superseded by the preparation of the Barry Place plan, and we're due to carry out our consultations with the community in the new year on that. And the council's intention is that the place-based plans will be developed for all the Vale town centres in due course. And of course, given my portfolio, we will be developing these plans with direct engagement with all our communities who are concerned. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Champion.
Thank you for that reply, Councillor. Are you and your officers aware that the Federation of Small Business have produced in March of this year a vision for Welsh towns?
I can only speak for myself. I'm certainly aware of that. Is that answer enough? I am aware of that, but I can't speak for my officers, but I'm pretty sure they will be aware of that.
Okay. Can I come back?
You could write to me, Councillor Champion.
Yes,
please do write to
do.
me. Please do write to me.
Thank you.
If you have any further questions relating to that matter, please do take up the Cabinet members' invitation. So thank you, councillors. Thank you, Cabinet members. We come back to the agenda. Just to remind you that we've already dealt with item 9, questions from the public. Item 10, I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear that I don't have any urgent matters to raise, and neither do we have any part 2 matters. So it just remains for me to thank everyone for their attendance. And can I take this opportunity to wish you all a very, very happy Christmas. The meeting is now closed. Thank you, everyone.